You're listening to Footy Roundup, Rob Serjanik and Matt Tidcombe. In today's show, Matty, we're going to be going through the MLS Champions League and Europa League as it currently stands in the first half. In the second half, as usual, we'll be going through the Big Four leagues and our studs and duds. Getting things started with the MLS, a little bit of a disappointing result for Toronto FC, but not without a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, crash back to reality to some extent, right? 2-0 defeat away at Columbus Crew. I mean, at the end of the day, Rob, the big talking point of this game is the red card for Morrow. Was it deserved?
I wish the listeners could see me making the asterisk signal under red card because I thought that was a joke of a straight red.
To me, it wasn't a red card.
Yeah.
We both agree on that, and I think a lot of people will. I think the reason it was given a red card is if you watch the replay a little closely, you see like Morrow gives him like a legal like shoulder barge.
Yeah.
And then he slides in and takes the ball.
The ball first, too,
exactly,
which bothered me, yeah.
But then I think because he kind of put the striker off balance, that he then fell, and it kind of looked like a red card, I guess, if you're quite aware.
Well, the referee was thinking, like, last man back, and he took him down, took away a scoring chance. Well, exactly. He did take him down, and he did take away a scoring chance, albeit legally.
Yeah.
That was really disappointing to see that. And it really kind of just really changed the tide of the game. Toronto had to really sit back after that and, not come forward and attack as much as they would have liked.
Well, right on halftime as well is just literally the worst time for that
terrible.
to happen. I mean, to some extent, I guess you got the break to kind of
tactically you can sort it out, yeah.
But, yeah, like you said, TFC never recovered, and they give up 2 goals in 4 minutes and, fairly early, an hour into the game. Justin Moran and then Kai Kamara getting the 2 goals. But the problem with both these goals is, Rob, they both came in from balls in. So TFC having trouble clearing the back line, clearing crosses, which is, I mean, that's basic defending to some extent. Obviously, you get beaten by good balls here and there, but at the end of the day, to give up 2 goals like that, I think was pretty poor, especially the Kamara one where he was wide open in the middle of the box. He didn't really have anyone around him. So,
Matt, you got to think something like that. I mean, to some extent, it does come down to coaching. I agreed with you. It's kind of the simplistic basics, if you will, of soccer, being able to clear out corners and through balls and crosses in the air. Where does Toronto FC go from that? I guess they need to make this a point of emphasis because I know they've had trouble with that in the past too. It's almost like they just switch off and they're not focusing during moments like that.
Well, I mean, we said in the Vancouver game, in the first game of the season, they were torn apart at the back.
Oh, just pieces in the beginning.
Shredded for the first 25 minutes, and then things kind of started turning in their way. So it's clear to me very early through 2 games that this team, while it has some decent players at the back, Caldwell, Morrow, Perquise, Crivell, Bloom is kicking around still. Nick Hagden, obviously.
Yeah, they have a little bit of depth there, too.
They have the pieces. They have some, pretty good defenders, but for some reason it's just not clicking right now. I don't think a change of formation is needed or anything like that, because I think 4 at the back is kind of, I think in MLS it's a pretty good route to go.
I agree. I don't think you can run the 3-5-2 formation, which we know with the attacking wingback type deal is a formation that back in the day. When I say back in the day, I'm saying late 90s, early 2000s. That was kind of prominent across Europe. Now you very rarely see it. I mean, Italy did run it, I guess, with some degree of success in the Euro and a little bit at the World Cup, but it's not really custom to do that anymore. 4 is kind of the standard now that you need 4 defenders.
And even look at the TFC roster, I don't know who's
classifies
quick enough.
A wing back, yeah.
Benoit Cheyrou might play on a wing, but is he old? He's a little up there in age. He's mid-30s now, right? So I'm not sure they necessarily have the pieces to put that kind of stream together. I mean, we've seen it with United. Louis van Gaal plays 3 at the back, and it just hasn't been working for them. For especially the first half of the season. So
you just end up almost playing so many guys out of position because guys are coming back more to defend because you only have 3.
Right.
When you're not getting forward in numbers, then you become a little tight and compact in the midfield. It's like one problem then compounds it into several little problems. And then you're just better off to just go with the flat 4, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, just going back to TFC, I guess, up front wise, he had 11 shots, only 3 on target. Benoit Cheyrou had their best opportunity in the first half of that half volley that the goalie made a good save on. And also in the very last minute, the header, I can't remember who headed the ball across the goal, but they just couldn't quite get on the end of the board there. So a little unfortunate, I guess, not to sneak a goal, but I know when you're down to 10 men, for a whole second half, you're pretty much struggling anyway, right?
Yeah, you don't want to make too much of the way in excuses or justification for the result, but we'll never know how it would have gone. I mean, it was 0-0, when the red card did happen. And we've seen Toronto in the past, not that you want to compare years necessarily, but take red cards in these situations, end up losing games like this 4-0, and they didn't. So I think maybe that's still worth something. They still have 3 points out of a possible 6. At the end of the day of this road trip, you go 3-3-1, you're happy.
Yeah, like we said at the start of the year, right? I mean, the other half of this, though, is now Morrow suspended for 3 games. A straight red card is a 3-game suspension, right? So they got to figure out, are they going to, like Hagman didn't start again.
Mm-hmm.
Do they bring him on, or like maybe Ashton Morgan, both who came on at halftime to kind of, ease the pain of losing more to the red card. So, I mean, who do they draft in, I guess, is the question here for 3 games. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's time for any kind of overreaction here.
No.
Second game of the season, 1-1 at the end of the day. I mean, I think when you have 7 games on the road to start the year, you can't complain too much about that.
Especially with Toronto FC's history with road games, too.
Well, exactly, right. So, I mean, move on to the next one. They have this week off as well, which is very strange. But
hey, sort out that Morrow situation, I guess.
I guess so, right? So, yeah.
Matty, moving on to Vancouver, I guess maybe a little early to say, maybe not. Octavio Rivero becoming a little bit of a revelation for the Whitecaps. Scores again late to steal
2 games now.
Steal the game here. Even though he had that howler of a miss against Toronto FC, was just awful. I mean, the way he redeemed himself in that game, and he took that pass off his knee in stride, slotted it home. Another cool finish here. A good situation, I think, for him in Vancouver now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been worth every penny so far, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's had a really good start to the year. Obviously, I think the miss, I don't think he'll ever live that down. That'll be something that will stick for him for a long while. But, at the end of the day, if you continue to score goals, people will forget about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like, I don't know, a couple of guys who maybe miss howlers and only score 2 or 3 times a year. If this guy continues
not
to
a Chad
score,
Barrett former TFC situation.
Exactly, right? So if a guy, if he bangs in 15 goals, which is, I mean, he's on pace, obviously, for a goal a game, which he won't keep up. But, I mean, he's probably looking at 20 goals right now, at least.
I think that's a feasible target. And
especially
I think for
2
sure
and 2
15
to start the year.
Yeah.
Another 90 minutes. He had 8 shots in this game, Rob.
He's active. Yeah.
I mean, that's more than like a lot of teams have in games these days.
The brief play I've seen from him so far this season, he seems a little Diego Costa-like. He just gets
without
forward.
being a chippy and
not as much.
Everybody.
Like, might as well maybe not Diego Costa.
Getting everyone sent up.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's physical. He fires
play,
shots. Like, he's just always attacking, always going forward. He has a good motor too. I think he's well suited for the MLS, and hopefully for Vancouver's sake, it's a situation that works out for both parties, and he'll be there for a while. Matty, what about Montreal?
They didn't play this week.
Yeah. I know, New England that coming up next week.
Yeah, they have New England coming this week, but Montreal looking ahead play
an 0-2 Revolution side too, actually.
That is, yeah. True. Montreal though this week they play at, our pronunciation on this is probably gonna be wrong, but Alajuelense of Costa Rica.
Close enough.
Yeah, I think it sounded good enough, right?
Shout out Alajuelense.
Hey, yeah. Well, you've got this under control already. In the CONCACAF Champions League, so a huge game for Montreal. Obviously, what happened last time with the last minute goal to get
Pachuca,
through
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Montreal didn't have MLS this weekend. I think I said last week how strange that is, and how TFC don't have MLS this weekend. It's mind-boggling to me. But so a busy week for Montreal though, the Champions League game, and then on the road away to New England, who are desperate for points.
Oh, they got, I don't want to say whooped, but I mean they got beaten comfortably and they still haven't scored. Is New England, as absurd as it sounds, almost in a must-win situation against Montreal here?
I wouldn't say must win, but they could do with it.
Something.
Scoring a goal, maybe. Doing something. So, I mean, we may as well get into some other results here. So, New England, as Rob mentioned, fell 2-0 away at New York City.
David Villa scoring the first one, actually.
David Villa getting the first goal there. Mullins getting the second goal. First win in franchise history for them.
Oh, Matt, quick interjection here. It was really strange to see New York City FC play at Yankee Stadium with the baseball.
Not cool.
I saw it all over Twitter, and it just looked absurd. It reminded me a little bit of like when you watch the Oakland Raiders play with the baseball, and it just doesn't look right. It looks awful for a soccer pitch on the side.
Like Villa scored and started celebrating, like ran towards the corner flag, and he just kept running and running.
And I know, everyone thought he was stealing second at one point.
I know. I think he was going down the dugout. I mean, it's not a good situation. They need to figure out what they're doing stadium-wise there.
It looks cool to see Yankee Stadium in the background, and then just absurd when you watch the game on the quality of pitch that they have.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen games like there's been preseason games played at Fenway Park in recent years and other baseball stadiums, but I don't know. It's not a long-term solution.
Yeah, soccer purists will tell you, soccer-specific pitch, you got to have it.
You think come like, well, I mean, next month when the Yankees start playing that they're going to be happy having these guys tear up their field?
Yeah, but it goes both ways
not,
too.
Right? So that's one game. FC Dallas beat Sporting KC 3-1. Perez and Castillo. Perez scoring twice there for Dallas. Espinoza getting KC's lone goal. Seattle lost again. They played San Jose this week. They lost 3-2. Clint Dempsey and Martin's getting the goal for
high-scoring game.
Sounder for Seattle, and Chris Wondolowski, who just scores goals for fun these days,
and then never features for the States.
Doesn't do enough for the U.S. team. The second goal here for Wondolowski put his side up 2-1. defender decides he's going to try and head the ball back to his goalie and essentially misses the ball, and you don't give Chris Wondolowski those kind of opportunities. Real Salt Lake drew 3-3 with Philadelphia Union. This game was just full of errors. There were own goals. There was an own goal by Philadelphia by Real Salt Lake, and then the guy with the dreadlocks. What's his name for Real Salt Lake? We'll get back to that in a minute. He basically had an own goal, and the goalie somehow saved it. And then Aristeguieta, I believe is how you say his name, tapped in the rebound. He scored twice. Real Salt Lake got goals from Morales, Olev, and Saberio. Last minute, 88th minute penalty kick was not a penalty. I mean, we'll get to some other stuff this week, like in Europe. There were some really, really iffy refereeing decisions this week.
Oh, terrible. So bad.
And I guess the other result, two other results here. Orlando City won 1-0 at Houston Dynamo. Good result for Orlando. Like New York City, that's their first win in franchise history. Derek got the goal there. A piece of terrible goalkeeping. Goalie tried to control the ball on a back pass, kicked it about 15 feet literally in front of him. Derek ran in, chipped the ball past him, and then the goalie basically rugby tackled the guy to the floor, but somehow the ball ended up in the back of the net. And the other result I should say, is Portland 2, LA Galaxy 2. Interesting game though, 1-1 going into injury time. Addy scores a second goal of the game for Portland to go give them a 2-1 lead. But hold on a second, Gordon goes down the other end immediately and makes it 2-2. So those were basically the results this week. Toronto, as we said, are off. Montreal playing New England away. And Orlando hosts Vancouver, and I was right. It is Kyle Beckerman who.
Yeah, Beckerman was right.
I was right. I should not question myself, should I?
Matty, I always got a soft spot for the Portland Timbers. I just love the fan base there, and just the energy that's in the crowd is just unbelievable. It's a lot of fun.
The change still makes me a little nervous.
I know you're so unsettled by it. It's super unique though.
It is, and that's exactly it. Right?
Yeah, I'm just glad that we're talking about MLS and that the season actually is.
Yeah, we got
because
going
that was
here.
absurd to be concerned with that, but now it's obviously in full flight.
Tricky game as well quickly for Vancouver to go to Orlando. It's a really good matchup this week. Orlando and New York, both expansion teams. If we want to get into standings, I'm not sure if we really do this early in the season, but both unbeaten, a win and a draw each in their first two games. Only two teams unbeaten this year. While DC United haven't played their second game yet. Who won?
David Villa and Kaká help a little bit.
Right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough test for Vancouver to see what they can do by going to. I think a lot of people said Orlando are going to be like a pretty good side this year. So yeah, an early away test for the Whitecaps.
Matt, moving on to Champions League, going through the results that are already done. It was basically, two games that were over fairly quickly, two games that were actually quite exciting. In the academic column, I guess you have Porto 4, Basel 0, Bayern 7, Shakhtar 0. So
close games, eh?
Yeah, goodbye Shakhtar Basel, and onwards and upwards for Porto and Bayern. There's not much you can really say about these games. I mean, the results were convincing. I think for Shakhtar's sake, it was really unfortunate to pick up that red right at the third minute.
In the second or third minute, you may as well just shut it down.
And then it's 1-0, and now you're totally against. Like we said, go after it and go get it, and you're already down one and a man. So there's not much you can do at that point. It's just a question of how many when that happened.
Well, I mean, Boateng, Ribery, Babstuder, Goetzer, and Lewandowski twice got the Bayern Munich goals there in convincing fashion.
The other two games, Matt, incredible. Real Madrid lose 4-3 at home to Schalke after we to various levels of commitment were saying that this was pretty much all but done. We knew they had it the whole way. Let's be serious. That wasn't that close, was it?
Yeah, jeez. I mean, I don't know. Tip your hat to Schalke.
That was awful performance by Madrid. And then seeing them booed at the end and Ronaldo having this look that they just got blown out and they advanced was odd to see.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. This for me was game of the year so far. Like in 2015.
Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. Remember what I said about him? That he does nothing when he's not scoring. When he's scoring, he's something because his finishing is sick.
Yeah. I mean, this is easily game of the year for me.
I'll give you one that might rival it, Matt. Chelsea PSG 2-2, the very other Champions League fixture. Yeah.
I mean, I think the big turning point in this Schalke game and the Real Madrid game was Ronaldo's goal right on halftime that made it 2-2.
Yep. Agreed.
That was a huge goal because if Schalke go into the dressing room up 2-1 at halftime, like things are looking really good for them, and they were playing lights out. And
it was against the run of play too. Like Madrid was getting
every
worked.
Madrid goal was against the run of play.
Yeah,
like they didn't deserve. They basically didn't deserve, to score 3 times at the end of the day. I mean,
did they realistically deserve to go through? You could say probably not.
On this game, no, they didn't. but they hammered Schalke in the first leg, right?
They had enough quality to see it off.
I mean, people, Casillas had wasn't great again, but he made a couple of good saves. The save on Herbedes towards the end was a massive save. So I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people saying bad things about Casillas from this game. Was he at his best? No, but he did make some saves that were definitely necessary. I mean, I don't know. To some extent, you're kind of speechless as to how good this game was. And I think for Schalke to do it without, Farfan and Draxler and a couple of other guys was even more impressive. I mean, Huntelaar, who left the first leg injured and was staying in the hospital, was unreal. I mean, there's a lot of words we can use to describe his performance in this game. But like they were just fantastic.
Yeah.
You kind of feel sorry for them because, like you say, Ronaldo was
hard
sulking
done
at the end, and I think the Madrid players didn't really clap their fans at the end of the game. Like they were.
Well, it's like Madrid, Matt. Like they got to win by style points too, right? Winning isn't enough. They got to need to win the right way. Yeah.
It was ugly. I mean, they didn't even win the game, right? Mm-hmm. But. Yeah.
Shout out to actually your fellow Englishman, James Sharman, before the game started, touting that Madrid was missing the whole of having Luka Modric in the middle. Mm-hmm. And he came back today, and I think that's a really big thing for Madrid going forward. Their link-up play between their defense and strikers have been abysmal since Modric has been out.
Yeah, a good game of the weekend as well.
Yeah, so I think that's going to help out Madrid quite a bit. But their defending still, Matty, at times is just straight comical with the players they have.
Especially if Casillas is off his game, which, unfortunately, he has been in the last year or two.
Yeah,
it makes it life a little more difficult for them.
But it's those unheralded midfield players that can really make a difference sometimes in the game. If the strikers aren't getting the ball in the right spot, it doesn't matter. The team needs to be together as a cohesive unit, and I think Madrid-Barca is going to be quite a battle down the stretch though for La Liga.
Well, they play this weekend.
Yeah.
So,
moving on to Chelsea-PSG, Matt. This game. I don't even know what to say. What you described about the last game is how I felt about this game. This might have been one of the best games I've seen in a really long time, at least in the past year or so. At full marks for PSG for going through. Realistically, I mean, Ibrahimovic's straight red I thought was garbage. Oscar rolling around making a meal out of it. Both of them went for a 50-50 ball. Honestly, I watched the replay a number of times. It looked like Ibra took the worst of it than Oscar. But, being bigger and deciding that I'm not going to be a baby about it, he didn't roll around and he didn't get the benefit of the call. And I think the Chelsea players rushing the referee and complaining like school kids at recess certainly didn't make the decision any easier. It was just really comical.
It was embarrassing. But what made it even funnier to me, if you watched the replay, they were so adamant to get to the referee and protest that John Terry steps on Oscar's head.
So now he's really injured.
On the way to shout at the referee about getting he literally stepped on the guy's head. You can see Oscar on the floor. He's faking his injury, and then Terry steps on his head, and you see him go, oh, and grab his head.
This game had everything, though. I mean, it had all the controversy. They denying a penalty for. I think Costa who should have had a penalty shot at one point.
I think that was. I think that was a makeup call
to some extent.
Yeah, I don't think you can make up obviously having a guy.
I would rather concede and be down 1-0 and still have my man than be 0-0. But I know what you're saying.
I guess
they're
trying
to make it a wash.
But.
And there's twists and turns everywhere. And then 1 second, you had. I think it was Thiago Silva, the Brazilian captain. He takes the ridiculous handball. Hazard converts. You're like, oh, this guy's like the GOAT. He cost him the game. Comes back and hits the winner minutes later.
6 minutes.
From 0 to hero, just in a blink of an eye. It was a wild game.
And then on top of that, you got David Luiz, the former Chelsea star, scoring the equalizer with 3 or 4 minutes left in regulation. I mean, when Cahill...
And then running his mouth like he was a pro wrestler over at Costa after he scored.
Even better, right? And when Cahill gave Chelsea the lead with 10 minutes left, you're like, man, PSG held on for so long.
It's gonna be hard, yeah.
And then I mean, at the end of the day, then you're thinking, well, they just go for broke because they have to now, and they kind of did, and they got the Luiz goal, and then obviously onto extra time.
That's how you draw it up for PSG, right? Ibra doesn't do anything offensively. Send off your 2 central defenders, score your goals. That's what you want,
essentially, right?
Yeah.
Where's Cavani? Oh yeah, he didn't.
He hit a bar though. He was close.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. So yeah, I mean, the games this week have a lot to live up to now.
For sure. Yeah, moving on to the ones we do have this week, Matt. Monaco, Arsenal, Atletico, Bayern, Barca, Man City, and Dortmund and Juve.
Yeah, so let's start with the Arsenal game quickly here. Obviously down 3-1, the last minute goal.
I'm not saying anything after what Real almost did, that this is fully over. I'm going to gotta wait and see how this goes. This
is an open game still, but I got, I'm with Monaco here. I don't see them. Arsenal have got to score twice.
It is the away goals. I think that third one that we talked about might be the difference here, even if it ends up being a close tie.
Last minute.
Yeah.
Carrasco, and Jeremy Toulalan, two of their best players, are doubtful for this game for Monaco, and Arsenal are without Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wilshere, and Debuchy. So a couple of injuries for both teams there. Moving on to Atletico and Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen up 1-0 from the first leg. Atletico, remember, had that goal disallowed.
Yeah, I thought it should have been a good goal as well. I still like Atletico's chances here, honestly.
I do too. They are without Diego Godin, who was suspended for this game, and Thiago is also out. And for Leverkusen, Lars Bender and Emir Spahic are both doubtful. Lars Bender obviously is a big loss there for Leverkusen potentially.
This one might be an extra time type of game too.
That game, yeah. Barcelona and Man City is obviously the tie everyone wants to watch here. I mean, the big talking point obviously is the Messi penalty miss in the last minute. That would, for my money, would have
killed
this
the tie
over.
Yeah. They'll rue that if City pulls this out.
Oh yeah. Well, it's easier for City now. They gotta go there, win 1-0, and see you later, right?
I'm expecting an open game out of this too. I don't think Barca's just gonna sit back and counter. It's not really.
But I mean, Man City have to score twice though.
Yep.
Barcelona have 2 away goals here, so. I mean, actually, I think I said.
No. City only needs 1 if they win 1-0.
But it's an away game. They go out on away goals.
Oh yeah, that's right. 2
and
away
actually,
goals
I just
for Barca.
correct myself on the Arsenal
the
game. Arsenal have to score 3 goals as well.
Yeah.
Not 2, because 2 goals.
The away goals is a pretty ruthless rule. Like.
It is ruthless, but it's good though.
Yeah.
I think it's been around for so long that you just you respect it because it makes games more exciting for my money. So yeah, Man City obviously. I mean, I think this game tie is over. Man City are pretty healthy going into this game. Barcelona without Sergio Busquets is about the only guy who's out for them. Thomas Vermaelen. Remember him that used to play for Arsenal? Yep. Yeah, I don't think anyone remembers he plays for Barcelona anymore. And just finally...
Just a smidge of depth on that team, eh?
Yeah, I know, right? But
they go 9 deep at central mid.
Yeah, Vermaelen's out, though, just for those who are interested. But he hasn't played much with Barcelona this year due to injury. I guess finally the last game is Dortmund, Juventus. Juve up 2-1 from the first leg. I think this is the game that I'm most interested in, because I think Arsenal, Monaco, Barca, Man City are both over. Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen is going to be a good game, but this is the one I'm really curious in, especially with Dortmund at home. I can see Dortmund winning this game 2-0 and advancing, 3-2 on aggregate or something along those lines.
Or you could see a 1-1 too.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities in this game. The big injury news here, though, is no Andrea Pirlo for Juve. He is out of this game. So
it's fascinating, Matt, that potentially when you're looking at these ties, you may have, 2 fairly over fixtures and 2 super close fixtures again, just like we saw in the previous. So we're both, I guess, on Arsenal and Monaco and Barca going through.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I'm gonna take Juve to hang on, and I think Atletico is gonna come back and pip Bayern.
I'm gonna go Dortmund and Leverkusen both to advance.
Ooh, changing it up on me. Change your mind on Atletico last minute, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
We'll see. We'll tally it up as we always do. Matt, the last couple minutes, Europa League.
Yeah, let's just quickly run through the results here. Zenit beat Torino 2-0 in the first leg. The second legs are this week as well, by the way. Club Brugge beat Besiktas 2-1. Dnipro over Ajax 1-0. Wolfsburg beat Inter 3-1. Everton 2-1 over Dynamo Kiev. Fiorentina 1-1 with Roma. Napoli
Roma
3-1.
tie, what a surprise.
I know, right? Napoli 3-1 over Dynamo Moscow, and Villarreal 1-3-1. Lost 3-1 at home to Sevilla. So I wouldn't say there was anything out of the ordinary here.
I think the one thing you could maybe point to is Wolfsburg getting a 3-1 over Inter. I felt like Inter was a little hard done by. Wolfsburg played very well, but Inter I think they took the lead in this game as well. To drop 3-1, it might be a little tough to overturn that one in Italy.
Yeah, I mean 2-0 is all they need, I guess, right? To get the away goals rule.
They can still have it to play for. I just think that third goal, we'll see. It's going to make it tighter.
The second goal for Wolfsburg here as well, like the inner goalie. I can't remember who the inner goalie is these days, but like a pass across the face of his box, just intercepted.
Horrible.
That's like grade 1 soccer knowledge. Like you just don't do that. Like
right in front of your net.
But like any sports, like hockey, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you're always protecting it.
Don't ever pass in front of your goal, right? So I mean that kind of stuff happens. So. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. A lot of these ties are, actually all of them are still wide open. Maybe Sevilla, Villarreal might be the only dead tie here because 3 away goals for Villarreal is just going to be almost impossible.
For Villarreal to get, yeah.
It's almost impossible for them. But everything else here is right in play. I mean, Wolfsburg Inter is going to be intriguing second leg, as is Fiorentina Roma. Can Everton go to Ukraine and, get a result there to advance, into the next round? And can Napoli go to, Russia and, hang on to their lead? So
that's what's always super interesting about these fixtures. Teams and even players that never see each other going head to head in these battles, like playing in a completely different country than you're used to, like an Everton going to Ukraine. Like that's super cool to me. Like
it is. Like Torino went to Zenit St. Petersburg to play a game. it's
when's the next time they'll conceivably be there? 20, 30 years maybe?
Yeah, because I don't think Torino are playing in Champions League anytime soon. Because I mean, Zenit are like a routine Champions League team that seem to get knocked out and end up in Europa League every year. But,
as a neutral, though, I just love seeing these fixtures all close and competitive. It makes for great.
Oh yeah, I mean the next
soccer
3
viewing.
days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're gonna be.
You know where you'll be, yeah, and me too. Actually,
oh yeah, we will be there.
All right, we'll be back after the break.